Welcome to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. While many in Hollywood were shocked and surprised when Warner Brothers unexpectedly killed the Batgirl movie that was slated to be shown on HBO Max, I wasn't actually that surprised myself, given who's in charge of Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav. So, the death of Batgirl on Tuesday sent immediate shockwaves through Hollywood. The film, with a $75 million budget that grew to $90 million due to COOF-related overages, had finished shooting months ago and was in test screenings as directors Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah worked through the post-production process. Star Leslie Grace has given multiple interviews expressing her enthusiasm for landing the title role and working with co-stars Michael Keaton, who was going to reprise his role as Batman, J.K. Simmons, and Brendan Fraser. In other words, the movie was nearly finished and already building awareness among fans. Why would Warner Brothers Discovery throw all that away? Well, we have to look at David Zaslav. According to sources with knowledge of the situation, the most likely reason is taxes. Several sources note that Batgirl was made under a different regime at Warner Brothers, headed by Jason Kilar and Ann Sarnoff, that was singularly focused on building its streaming service HBO Max. That effort included Kilar's infamous decision to release the studio's entire 2021 theatrical slate simultaneously on the streamer, which helped build the subscriber base but also jeopardized the studio's reputation with top-tier talent. Even before David Zaslav took over the reins of the newly formed Warner Brothers Discovery as CEO this spring, the exec went on a well-publicized listening tour designed to repair the company's relationship with the creative community. As part of that effort, Zaslav has made no secret of reversing Kilar's strategy and committing to releasing first-run films in theaters before putting them on HBO Max. Batgirl found itself on the bad end of that decision, apparently neither big enough to feel worthy of a major theatrical release, nor small enough to make economic sense in an increasingly cutthroat streaming landscape. Spending the money to expand the scope of Batgirl for theaters, plus the $30 million to $50 million needed to market it domestically and the tens of millions more needed for a global rollout, could have nearly doubled spending on the film. And insiders say that was a non-starter at a company newly focused on belt-tightening and the bottom line. Releasing the movie on HBO Max would seem to be the most obvious solution. Instead, the company has shelved Batgirl along with the Scoob sequel, and several sources say it will almost certainly take a tax write-down on both films, seen internally as the most financially sound way to recoup the costs. It could justify that by chalking it up to post-merger change of strategy. Doing so, however, would mean that Warner Brothers cannot monetize either movie, no HBO Max debut, no sale to another studio. So yeah, this film is never going to be seen, and I know a lot of people are not happy about that, but David Zaslav has other intentions for the DC universe. Now, one of the interesting things that occurred was after Batgirl was canceled, DC Films president Walter Hamada was on the brink of exiting the company, so he wasn't happy about this. Amid the shelving of the HBO Max film Batgirl and the clear desire of Warner Brothers Discovery chief David Zaslav to find new leadership for the DC universe, DC Films president Walter Hamada has come to the verge of exiting the studio and consulted with counsel, sources tell The Hollywood Reporter. Hamada has now agreed to remain in his post at least until the October 21st release of the Dwayne Johnson film Black Adam, according to sources with knowledge of the situation. He's pausing, says a source. The decision has not been made to make this adversarial yet. Hamada could not be reached for comment. The tension comes as Zaslav has vowed to do what he called a reset with respect to DC. With a 10-year plan, he hopes that will allow the brand to compete with Disney-owned Marvel Studios, which has built the biggest film franchise in history. We think we can build a much stronger, sustainable growth business out of DC, Zaslav said during Thursday's earnings call. As part of that, we are going to focus on quality. We are not going to release any film before it's ready. DC is something we can make better. An insider says Warner Brothers Picture Group co-chairpersons and CEOs Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy, who are overseeing DC until Zaslav settles on new leadership, informed Hamada at a recent Black Adam test screening that Batgirl, a $90 million film that was in post-production, would be shelved. The explanation was that given Zaslav's strategy, the picture wasn't strong enough to release theatrically and was too expensive for a streaming release. The company, under pressure to cut costs, elected to take a write-down on the project. So, yeah, this really looks like it's increasingly just a purely financial decision, and that's what David Zaslav is known for. I don't think that there are any political reasons for shelving the film. I think this is purely just him looking at this film, saying it's too expensive to stream it, but it's also not worth trying to promote it theatrically, so there's just no real reason to air the film at all. Now, there's another article that also came out that is on Variety that I wanted to look at too, because this is essentially Zaslav defending himself for canceling Batgirl. We're not going to put a movie out unless we believe in it. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav addressed the company's controversial decision this week to cancel releases for Batgirl and Scoob Holiday Haunt during the company's Q2 earnings call on Thursday. We're not going to launch a movie until it's ready, Zaslav said during the Q&A portion of the call when asked directly about Batgirl getting the axe. We're not going to launch a movie to make a quarter, and we're not going to put a movie out unless we believe in it. Well, he clearly did not believe in it. During the presentation, Zaslav reportedly pointed to the company's DC superheroes properties, including Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, as central to the company's broader content strategy. To better marshal those properties, Zaslav cited his previously reported goal of putting together a team with a 10-year plan focusing just on DC, similar to the approach Disney has taken with Marvel Studios as run by Kevin Feige, but he did not announce who would be heading that team, and I don't think it's going to be Hamada. There are brands that are known everywhere in the world, he said, of the DC characters. And as part of that, we're going to focus on quality. DC is something we think we could make better, and we're focused on it now. Zaslav mentioned quality repeatedly when discussing DC, strongly implying that Batgirl was not up to a standard that he believes is necessary for adaptations of the wider comic book property. The objective is to grow the DC brand, to grow the DC characters, he said. But also, our job is to protect the DC brand, and that's what we're going to do. So he clearly sees canceling Batgirl as one way of protecting the DC brand, which again pushes the direction that perhaps he didn't think it was a high enough quality to be viewed by anybody. So it's really difficult to tell. I think there's a lot of monetary reasons for doing this, but there could also be issues of quality. Zaslav name-checked Black Adam, Shazam 2, and The Flash as DC features that he's very excited about. We've seen them. We think they're terrific, and we think we can make them even better, he said. Zaslav's mention of The Flash, currently scheduled to debut in June 2023, is particularly meaningful as star Ezra Miller is facing multiple allegations of abuse and misconduct that neither the actor nor the studio have addressed publicly. The decision to shelve 2 nearly complete feature films, including a superhero property with a $90 million budget, stunned the wider industry. So who knows, where DC is going to be going, but it may be very different now that David Zaslav is in charge. And Batgirl was clearly not something that he wanted to be part of it going forward. That's really all that can be said about it. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to see more of our videos in the future and help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.